Coming up on Pacific Report, Joint Task Force full accounting, B-52 crew chiefs, and the Army saves a miracle baby.
AFN Pacific Report with Marine Sergeant Jake Messier.
Welcome to Pacific Report. The mission to find those lost in the Vietnam War is important to Americans and Vietnamese alike. The two countries work closely to resolve the issue and provide answers. Airman First Class Kane Faribaugh traveled to Vietnam and was able to obtain a rare interview with one officer who traded combat status for humanitarian support. His efforts help American teams find the answers they're looking for.
Joint Task Force Full Accounting and the Central Identification Laboratory search for U.S. service members' remains in the fields and jungles of Vietnam. Their efforts bring the Vietnamese people and the Americans together to work toward a common goal. Neither side can forget the pain and suffering of the war, but reconciliation helps them move on. The People's Army of Vietnam Senior Colonel Bien is one of the key figures helping resolve the MIA issue in Vietnam.
I
help carry out the humanitarian policy of the Vietnamese government. I follow the agreements of the American and Vietnamese governments. I help in the negotiations and work with the American specialists. I understand how the Americans feel about their missing because we also have about 300,000 Vietnamese still missing from the war.
Colonel Bien's story does not begin here. He's a dedicated soldier and veteran of several wars. He fought against the French in 1954 during the Dien Bien Phu conflict. He also fought against the Americans and the South Vietnamese in the Vietnam War, and he was a leading officer in the Vietnamese occupation of Cambodia in the 1980s.
Colonel Bien is a former adversary of ours who fought against my unit, and every time I return to Vietnam, he reminds me that he fought against my unit, and I remind Colonel Bien in a friendly fashion that he never won.
Meeting former adversaries is sometimes difficult for veterans.
The first time was obviously the most difficult, but I've developed, he is a warrior. For over 20 years I was a warrior, and I think there is some common bond, even though we are on opposite sides. There is a warrior spirit there that we can relate to.
Yes, I am a soldier. There were a lot of terrible things that happened during the war, so that makes the job difficult sometimes. We are still committed to this issue.
Colonel Bien understands that it's important to the families of the missing to have answers. To him, the issue is personal. His brother is among those unaccounted for from the war.
We are trying to close the past and open the future by working closely with the American specialists in the humanitarian mission.
One can't have fought a war without having scars somewhere, but time wounds a lot of those and softens the scars.
Airman First Class Kane Faribaugh, Pacific Report, Da Nang, in the Socialist Republic of Vietnam.